South Jamaica, baby, they made me to be the greatest. Serving the deed of my creators, fresh off of my high haters. It's the king again, Magdalene, chauffeured, bragging and boasting.
Yo, what up, y'all? It's your boy Dollars. Welcome back to the channel. It's another day, another dollar video, and we got another serial killer documentary. There's a couple videos about this guy, but I had to really choose carefully which video I react to because I don't want to react to somebody's video and then they try to give me another takedown notice. I get a strike. So I got to be very careful which videos that I react to. I didn't want to do such a long video, but this seems like the only one where it's really like documentary. So before we even get to the video, I just want to say this is for educational purposes only, to protect myself and commentary criticism. Okay, so this is about the BTK killer. And it's crazy. He sounds like he was in a freaking boy band or something. B2K, BTK. I remember hearing about this guy too when I was a kid. Apparently he was on a 10-year run, or probably longer, a little bit longer than 10 years in Kansas. I believe he killed 10 people. Rest in peace to them. The first victims that he murdered were actually Puerto Rican. It was a family, a husband, a wife, and 2 babies. And I believe they had other kids that were at school at the time and they came and discovered the body. So, you know, that's crazy, man. You know, like I would like to get like an update on these kids and family members. Like, how do you go about your life living knowing that your mom, your brother, your father were murdered and you discovered the bodies? Like, that's got to be freaking traumatic. Yeah, we're going to check this one out. This is a long one. So go get your drinks, go get your snacks. You know, I'm gonna pause, but I'm not trying to pause too much because this video is gonna be what, like an hour long. So for anybody that watches this and sticks with me, I thank you all the time. Thank you to all my subscribers, all the support. You know, I haven't been doing a lot of videos because I got 2 strikes left that I want to make sure they're gone so I can really feel comfortable uploading like I used to. But we're gonna have a lot of reactions coming, scary, movies, everything. So just bear with me, guys. And another thing that was crazy about the serial killer, he was very popular in the community. He was also selling security systems for people that were so afraid of this serial killer, they didn't even know that they were buying the security alarm system from the serial killer. It's like you're buying this to protect you from him and he's the one selling it to you. So I'm pretty sure he was able to hack people's security alarm or some of the customers that he had. I believe like some of them were his victims, which is even more terrifying. Anyway, let's hop into this joint.
He seems to be a comprehensive serial killer.
He loves the concept of killing. He would want to do it again.
I mean, he would bind them up, he would torture them, and then he would kill them.
Bind, tie, and kill. I believe that's what it stands for.
Basement, hanging from a water pipe.
In that letter to us, BTK said, "How many more people do I have to kill before I get some publicity?"
Wow. He wanted the spotlight too.
The BTK strangler hides in women's bedroom closets.
He kills women, men, small children. Nobody is safe. Nobody.
Thank God they caught his ass.
You can feel the spring storms blowing back into Kansas. This is a live look from Sky Tracker in downtown Wichita. Clouds already rolling in, bringing with them the promise of a stormy weekend.
Yeah, stormy, all right.
This
is the promise of a serial killer.
One of the most extraordinary events in criminal history. A story that has terrorized a small mid-American city for the last 30 years. The conservative city of Wichita, roughly the size of Coventry, is slap bang in the middle of the American heartland.
We ain't in Kansas anymore.
With a population of just 500,000, the city prides itself on its friendly, peaceful community. But Wichita harbors a dark past that has recently returned. In the 70s, this peaceful community was shattered. Wichita had...
Why does it seem like all these serial killers were striking around the same time? What is it about the 70s, bro? I know we had Ted Bundy, we had this guy, we had Wayne Gacy, There was the other guy, the Ed Gein. I don't know if he was in the 70s. I think he was a little bit before the 70s, but it seemed like they all were striking at the same time, bro. And I hope this is not going to be another case of they could have caught him sooner and they just did it.
Had a serial killer on its hands. The murderer became known as the BTK killer due to the method in which he bound, tortured, and killed
Oh, it's
his
bind,
victims.
torture. I thought it was bind and
After
tie,
his
but bind and
second
tie means the same thing.
BTK disappeared, and for the past 2 decades, Wichita has tried to forget these horrific events. But in 2004, all that changed.
That's when he was caught, right? That's why I remember it, because 2004. I was 16, bro. Damn, I'm old.
Breaking news tonight. A letter sent to the Wichita Eagle is now believed to be from the BTK killer. It's a story that...
Oh, yeah, the last letter he sent got him caught.
Now, the BTK killer hasn't been heard from in decades, but now it appears he may be back.
That's the thing that's so terrifying, because it's like, you hear about this guy, you know he's out there, and then there's decades where there's no progress, there's nothing, the cops haven't had no new leads. So it's like, yo, this guy's still out there, bro. It could be anybody, and you don't know. And that's the most terrifying thing, because you already know what he's done, all the people he killed already. But there's nothing, like no update, nothing. So I believe this last letter he sent was how he got caught.
The one
Thankfully.
thing about BTK that makes him absolutely unique is he's the only serial killer to elude capture for more than 30 years and continue to communicate with the police.
It was 30 years?
Did something change in his life? Did he go on drugs? Did he go off drugs? Did he get married? Did he get a divorce? Did he have a baby? What happened in this guy's life?
Anything could have caused him to
back?
This is kind of unprecedented. We don't usually have serial killers out there who wait so many years, decades, to then return and say, haha, I'm here, I'm alive, I'm in your community, and I'm threatening.
That shit reminds me of the Joker, bro. That's something the Joker would do. Is like he goes dormant for a couple years and then he comes back to taunt you like, yeah, I'm still out here. You still ain't catch me. Ha ha ha.
You again.
The news of BTK's return has once again plunged the city of Wichita into...
My whole thing is, what the hell was the police doing for these 30 years? Were they still trying to find him? Like, I would hope that they ain't just be like, oh, well, we'll just wait till another victim comes. Like, you have to actively be putting in the work to catch these dudes, not being reactive and waiting for him to commit another crime, bro.
To a state of panic.
And I know I'm pausing a lot, but I got good points, so I'm sorry.
One man knows more than any what BTK's reemergence could mean for the community.
Pandemonium.
Now retired, Benny Jawatsky was one of the original detectives to work the case.
Shit must
There
have
was always
haunted
a
his
feeling,
dreams.
even after I retired, that was the one case that we weren't able to solve or identify the killer. And then to have him resurface, of course, brought hope again.
Salt in the wound.
Maybe a new investigation, new forensics, new minds, new detectives on the case, and might bring this.
And that's a good point, because dudes don't realize with time, there's advancement in technology, detective methods, like you said, new detectives that are hungry. They have a new training that, bro, everything they learned up to this point, up to all these years, these cops are using now. So it's like they have so many different techniques to catch people. And, I'm pretty sure there's some serial killers out there right now that we haven't discovered or that the cops know about because they keep finding bodies and victims. But, dudes are going to get caught, bro. Eventually, I would hope.
To a solution.
During the 70s, murders in Wichita were a rare occurrence. But the events of one cold January day would change that forever.
The Otero family, like I said. That's so sad, bro.
On a quiet residential road, 38-year-old Joseph Otero, his wife Julie, 34, and 2 of their children were bound, tortured, and killed in their home.
The Otero killings in 1974
a whole family,
were a huge,
bro.
huge story. At the scene, it was a small frame home. 4 people were dead inside when I arrived. The police were combing all over the scene. And it was hard for Wichitans at that point to believe that 4 members of a family had been killed. That just didn't happen in Wichita, Kansas. So for us in Wichita, this story was huge.
Of course, bro. That's shocking. Back in them days, you gotta realize these were people that are keeping their back door open, they front door unlocked, because they not worried about something like that happening. But look, you know, in today's age, we know better. I hope that there's not people out there still keeping their front door unlocked. I don't care what neighborhood you live in, bro. You can live in the nicest neighborhood. Some of these serial killers are some of the nicest dudes that you wouldn't expect, right? So I would hope these people are not doing that nowadays, man.
Today, the
you need to have 3 locks. You need the Jeffrey Dahmer lock on your shit, bro.
Bernie Drowatsky was one of the first detectives to arrive on the scene and returns 30 years later to recall the terrifying events that took place there.
He probably remember every detail,
it's been
too.
30-some years since I've been in this house.
Wow, that's the house?
It's exactly as I remember it.
I could not live in a house where some shit like that went down.
We could find into the residence on the Otero homicide. The telephone line had been cut.
Just a room?
The best I recall, the bed was to the west. Mrs. Otero was on the bed, kind of at an angle, and Mr. Otero was on the floor. They had both been bound and strangled and were both deceased. It was an extremely...
The sad thing about it is, too, like, whoever, I don't know who he killed first. Like, if he killed the husband first, he's strangling him. The wife is hearing it, and she's tied up, so she knows she's next. That's got to be the most horrifying thing to go through. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know he's going to kill you next, and you see what he's just doing, and it's like he's killing somebody you love, and you can't even stop it, and you're next. So it's like fear, pain, sadness. It's just gut-wrenching, bro.
Upsetting scene to go in and find those people, especially the 2 youngsters. The best of my recollection, this is the room that Joseph was in, on the floor on his back. I believe he was 9 years old. He was face up, feet bound. His head was wrapped with the pillowcase and towel, plastic of some type. Further going through the house, we found the 13-year-old girl in the basement, hanging from a water pipe.
Wow.
This is a stairway going downstairs. This was where...
I don't know how people could live there, bro. They got a room in the basement, too.
The little girl Josephine was found hanging.
Ain't no way that house is not haunted.
This pipe was the pipe that the rope was up and over and around her neck. Her feet were so far off the floor. In all of these homicides, there was no sexual attack on any of the victims, but there was semen left at many of the scenes. So I'm sure there's a sexual gratification of some type.
Disgusting, bro.
To these killings.
Them dudes really be getting off on that
BTK
shit. Like,
Strangler
damn.
is a sadist. He loves watching people suffer. When he killed the Otero family, he probably enjoyed very much killing one and having the other family members have to hear their loved one dying.
See what I said, bro?
The person who went there had to control 4 people, had to tie them up and torture them for a long period of time, and this was broad daylight. The killer in this case really spent time watching the house, knowing what was going on. He did a lot of surveillance. He had to know what the family did. He had to know that.
I recommend people, if you could afford it, bro, get a security system, get a camera, get cameras all around your property, and review the camera tapes too. You know, you want to see who's walking by, looking at your house. So, you know, like, be prepared so you ain't got to get prepared,
That
bro.
Joseph Otero, the father, would also be there.
Sad to say, but that's the times we in, bro. You got to protect
Over
everything.
the period of time that we worked these cases, what did we overlook or what did we miss? Somewhere there had to be a clue that...
And that's one thing that I feel like most families need to get better at. you know, you need to talk to your family members, talk to your kids about worst case scenarios. You're not just for something like this. It could be for anything. Oh, what if there's a war? What if, you know, we need to get out of here? Y'all should always have a plan in case of an emergency, for any type of emergency. If something happens, this is what we're going to do. You know, have some self-defense training too. Have some knowledge. It's like Americans have gotten further and further away from the knowledge of things that matter, like hunting, surviving in the wilderness, building campfires. You know, y'all may say it's Boy Scout shit, but you never know when you may need to depend on these skills, bro. There's certain skills in life as men we should have. All men should know how to use tools to build and fix things. Shouldn't just have to depend on a freaking plumber or, you know what I'm saying? Like, not saying that you need to take karate class and be a black belt, but I'm saying it's like, these are things that really matter. You know, but Americans, we already know, bro. These people just, they be on their phones all day. They entertain all day, watching TV all day. That's why we have an obesity problem. People don't care no more. You know, the internet, social media is to blame for that too.
We didn't pick up on. It'd be a blessing to have closure to know that the person responsible for this had been apprehended.
Yes, it is.
It really would.
Oh, this is before he got caught too. Damn. This is old footage.
Despite a thorough investigation into the Otero murders, the police had no leads and even struggled to find a motive.
They didn't have
Once
cameras
you
like
committed a
that.
crime to this extent, you are a serial killer. A person who commits a crime like the Otero family killing is going to want to go on and do something else.
Of course.
In 2004,
and that was his first murders. Like, the first time doing it, he just killed 4 people in one shot. Like, damn.
the small mid-American town of Wichita was shocked at the news that its most notorious serial killer returned after a 25-year silence. The BTK Strangler, so called because of the way he bound, tortured, and killed his victims, began his killing spree back in January 1974, when he brutally murdered 4 members of the Otero family.
Regardless of who the target was in the first murders, the Otero family murders, we see an element of enjoyment there. This killer really enjoyed killing the family, each one of them.
He loved semen.
And
that's
he got
all
a
the
sexual
proof you
release
need.
from that. This puts him over into the category of serial killer already, that he loves the concept of killing, and he would want to do it again.
On April the 4th, 1974, 3 months after the Otero killings, police were called to the home of 21-year-old Catherine Bright, who lived just 2 miles away.
21.
Catherine Bright and her brother had returned home, and upon entering the residence, were confronted by an individual that had been waiting in the house.
Wow. He emerged from her bedroom closet with a gun, told them he was going to rob them.
Struggle ensued between Kevin Bright and the individual, and Kevin was bound to a chair.
Kevin fought free, grappled with the man, but the man shot Kevin in the side of the head, knocking him unconscious, although the killer thought Kevin was dead.
So he survived that? Wow, that kid was tough, bro. And that's another thing too, is like, with the first family, the father, I believe he was in the Air Force, he was in the military. It's like, I would like to think they didn't just willingly give up. Like, did you look for a way to fight back? Because that's one thing that's got to be on your mind, bro. Don't assume that these guys are telling you the truth. Oh, no, I just want to rob you, you know, or I'm on a run, I need a place to hide, bro. Assume the worst. So if you feel like, okay, he's going to kill me and my family, you got to look for an option or time to fight back, or, you know, when you can make a move. Because listen, if you're going to die, if you feel like you are, you might as well go out fighting. Go out fighting, bro. Fight for your life.
Kevin woke and heard his sister being strangled, being attacked by this guy. He went to her aid, and again, then he was shot in the face.
Oh yeah, he died from that then.
Kevin managed to stumble out the front door onto 13th Street, where a passerby found him and called emergency.
Wow.
Catherine Bright had been stabbed 3 times in the abdomen. Despite police and medical crews arriving at the scene, she died later in hospital. Kevin Bright survived the ordeal.
He survived
but
too?
police felt the extent of his injuries made his description of the killer unreliable.
I don't know about that, bro. I'm pretty sure, yeah, he was injured and maybe that does play a part in it, but I don't think he's going to try to remember. He lost his sister, bro. And he almost died. Side of the head into the face, bro. Like, that kid is tough, man. And that's sad, you know? Like, you try to save your sister and then there's nothing you could do. And then you survive. He probably got survivor's guilt, too.
In the months that followed, police received their first breakthrough in the Otero case. 3 men openly confessed to the killings, and it wasn't long before the news made the front pages, much to the relief of the community.
I bet you he's going to start writing because of that. Like, wait a minute, you trying to claim my work?
It was during that period of time that the news media picked up on it, and it became knowledge to the community that we had people in custody. And that's when we received our first communication from the Strangler.
You're like, yo, you ain't gonna be taking credit for what I did. That's how sick he is.
On
this October
22nd, 1974, a man called the Wichita Eagle newspaper and directed them to the public library, where they would find a letter hidden in an engineering book. The police were immediately notified, and the letter was retrieved by lead detective Bernie Jowatsky.
Upon retrieving that letter and bringing it back and reading the letter, we determined that it most definitely was from the individual who had been in the Otero house and had committed all 4 of the killings.
The letter said, those 3 guys didn't do it. I did it, and here's how you know I did it. He went on to describe in detail what the Otero crime scene looked like. The police...
In detail, bro. So he remembered everything about the house, little details. That's crazy. Another thing I was thinking about is, like, imagine if this guy never wrote a letter, bro. Like, that would be the most terrifying thing. A serial killer who doesn't want to get caught. And he's not going to give you no clues unless you a good detective. You're going to have to work for that.
That only the killer could have known those details. There's some speculation that he actually photographed the scene, all of the scenes. And that's how he kept all these details straight.
Oh, shit.
The letter, filled with grammatical errors, was from the killer himself. He took sole responsibility for the Otero murders and went on to reveal accurate details of the crime scene. The killer spoke of a monster that couldn't be stopped and signed off with a signature that would become his trademark, as well as a chilling promise of further victims.
Bro, this guy created a whole freaking character for himself, like the BTK. Usually it's the media that gives these guys names, right? He said, no, bro, I'm coming with a whole character now. BTK, this is my motto, like my philosophy to be a serial killer. That's wild. BTK, like he named himself.
One of the most unusual aspects about the BTK strangling case is that there were communiques with the police. Now, many people watching Hollywood think that all serial killers want to have a cat and mouse game with the police and send them letters, but it is really an extremely rare event.
In a
so
desperate
he wanted to be a celebrity.
to find the killer, police stepped up their investigation, recruiting.
Wasn't
more
the
officers
Zodiac
to the
killer
case.
also sending
But
letters
the
or
trail
some
of
shit?
BTK mysteriously went cold, and it would be another 3 years before he was heard from again.
So 3 years, 1974, then 1977.
With the next murder would have been Shirley Boi Ent. Shirley was a single mother living alone with her 3 children. As I recall, the oldest child was like 8, and then there were 2 younger children.
Apparently, at one point in time, an individual had stopped one of the children on the street and showed a picture of a person and asked if he knew that person or if they lived there. The child didn't apparently know that, and then later, apparently the same man appeared at the door and gained entry into that residence.
Once he was in the house, he pulled a handgun, again, similar to the Catherine Bright murder, told them he was going to rob them, put the children in a bathroom.
Please don't tell me he killed the children again, bro. Bad enough he's killing the mom, but I'm saying, like, damn.
This is the bathroom that the children were locked in. This door at the time was not here. This was a solid wall. And the kids were placed in here and the door tied shut in some manner, so they couldn't get out.
The oldest child heard what he thought his mother being murdered, which was what was happening. And he helped his, he was 8 years old. There was also a 6-year-old boy and a 4-year-old girl. There was a very small window in the bathroom.
Oh my God, God bless these kids, bro. 8 years old and you smart enough to know that, wait a minute, something's not right. And he got his kids, I'm assuming he got his siblings out of there, bro.
There was a window on this north wall. And this was a window that the kids used access to finally get out of the bathroom.
Wow.
When the police arrived, Shirley Vian had been bound and strangled, similar.
If those kids didn't get out, bro, they would have been done
She
too.
was found on the bed, and there was semen left at the scene. Again, she was not raped or anything. She was strangled.
This was a new thing. And totally, the police did not understand, I mean, why there was semen on Josie Otero, the girl who was hung in the basement. There was semen near Shirley Vian. So after a while, they understood this was a sexually motivated serial killer.
Our theory is that what he was doing is that he was strangling them, and as they were dying, he was probably masturbating at the time.
He apparently actually saw the people dying from the strangulation, and that's what aroused him.
That guy was sick, bro.
If the children had not escaped or something interrupted.
He make Jeffrey Dahmer look like a Boy Scout, bro. I mean, Jeffrey Dahmer, he was freaking eating his victims and doing all kinds of sick shit and sleeping with corpses, but, you know, apparently he didn't want them to suffer. He didn't make them suffer. Well, you know, that's what they say. He didn't want them to suffer. This guy's getting pleasure from the suffering.
To him, I think we'd have had some dead children in that one also.
Yeah, me too.
We have since made every effort in the world to, work with these children, try to get a description from them. We had child psychologists work with them and everything. As best we could come up with, he was, again, a white male about mommy's age, which would have put him somewhere in your 30s, early 30s, somewhere in that category.
You know what would be a good idea for these victims, bro? And it only works if they want to be a part of it, right? And it could be to raise awareness. If they do a show where it's like, being the children of victims that were murdered by serial killers or being relatives, and they talk about the experience and, how they live now and how they survive now. And, the post-traumatic stress, like, do they get paranoid for every little thing, Like, if they made a show like that, and obviously they would be compensated, they would make money off of it to pay for them, but it would also raise awareness, too. That would be interesting if they had a show idea like that. Just, I don't know if they do, but if they did, surviving, families of victims, some shit like that.
We do know that he had a black bag, which we had always theorized that he brought the tape with him that he used, the ropes that he used, and we know he had a gun because we theorize in the Otero case he had to have a gun to get control of the adults and things of that nature. We know in the Kathy Bright case he had a gun because he shot the brother, and in this particular case, the youngster was able to tell us.
That's most dangerous too. He uses a gun too, so it's like, damn. Once he got that out on you.
Because of the similarities between the Otero, Catherine Bright, and Shirley Vian murders, Police suspected it may be the work of the same individual, but were baffled by the 3-year time gap between killings.
A serial killer usually kills after something has gone wrong in his life. He has some kind of crisis. Perhaps his wife has asked him for a divorce, or his girlfriend has left him, or perhaps he's just been fired from his job. He's feeling really low, he's angry at the world, and he says, "You don't have any respect for me. You don't think I'm anybody." So he goes out and he says, "Look what I can do to you." He kills somebody, he feels proud of himself, he's got a big ego again, and then he may not do anything again for months and months, or even years until another crisis.
I mean, is it that? Because I feel like sometimes it's just like, if it's a compulsion, if it's something they enjoy doing, they want to do, I don't think they need an excuse to do it. But maybe for certain type of serial killers, they do it that way, where like something goes wrong, they want to kill. I believe with Jeffrey Dahmer was similar. But not all serial killers, I think, needed a reason or an excuse, bro. Like, they just get enjoyment from doing what they do.
And that's why serial killers, they don't kill every month by the moon like some people think. They kill when they feel a need to kill.
I mean, if they doing it like that too, it's sloppy, they're gonna get caught faster.
Police Chief Richard Lemunyon faced a difficult decision about whether to go public and warn the community of Wichita that there was a serial killer.
Of course you gotta warn people, bro.
I'm getting advice at this point now from the FBI, from the behavioral science people. You know, should we release this information? Should we not release this information? And you get a lot of different advice. And if you asked 6 people, you get 6 different opinions. And finally, you have to make a decision.
I hope you made the right one.
In this particular case, the decision was made that we would not give him credit.
Wow. Wow, bro. You have to outweigh the pros and the cons in this type of thing, bro. We don't want to give him credit to make him feel like, you know, he's doing anything, because they feel like, oh, the serial killer wants that publication. He wants to be publicized. He wants to be known. So they don't want to give him the satisfaction. But you got to realize you're doing a disservice to the people, because they don't know about this threat that's out there. And you got them going outside blindly thinking everything is sweet, bro. Like, that's stupid. To me, that's stupid.
Credit for it at the time in hopes that he would communicate with us.
And I bet that is actually going to make him more mad. It's going to make him want to start killing even more. Oh, you don't want to give me my credit? You don't want to talk about me? All right, I'm going to make it so you have to talk about me now.
Which he did.
But the
no matter how you try to spin it,
not what the police were.
No matter how you try to spin it, bro, that was the wrong move. I don't care what he said. So we have October 1977, now December. What happened?
About 8:20 a.m. on December 8th, Friday morning, 1977, a caller told a police dispatcher, and his call was recorded. You have a homicide at 843 South Pershing, Nancy Fox.
He communicated directly with the police department in that he told us, you will find a homicide, gave us the exact location, and gave us her name.
Yes, you will find a homicide at 843 South Pershing, Nancy Fox.
I'm sorry, sir, I can't understand you. What is the address? 843 South Pershing.
That is correct.
Wichita just started a new system, which was brand new then, now well known as caller ID. So the caller did not know that the dispatcher knew where the call was coming from, and a police officer was there within 2 minutes.
Wow.
But the caller, the BTK strangler, was gone.
Wow. And I bet there wasn't a freaking camera in front of the store or wherever that freaking phone was that could have caught him.
They then dispatched 2 officers to 843 South Pershing to check the residence. They did not tell them the purpose of the call. They just wanted to check. And I've interviewed one of the officers who was there. He said they initially walked around the house, and in the back they found the back window was broken and the telephone line cut. And they looked at each other and said, you know what we're going to find in here? We're going to find a body.
843 South Pershing was the residence of Nancy Fox, a 25-year-old part-time secretary.
She was found on the bed, face down, which was somewhat typical of what he would do with his victims. Her panties had been pulled down between her buttocks and her knees. There was semen left at the scene in a negligee laying by her head.
Nancy Fox's father faced the task of identifying her body.
When we arrived at the hospital, they took us into this room and wanted us to go make the identification. I mean, it was something you don't want to remember. I could see her face and her feet, and basically it was all, and it was just bruised, black and blue, but enough, there was no doubt as to who it was.
Yeah, I don't know, you know, there's nothing I could say, because to be in that situation just gotta be the worst feeling, bro, as a father, to have to identify the body of your baby. That's just sad, bro. You know, it got me like tearing up a little bit, eyes getting watery and shit. I don't care what people think about that. You know what I'm saying? I don't think you're less of a man for showing emotion. But you shouldn't be emotional for every little thing. That's my motto. But that's just sad, bro. You know, but I hope the father was alive to know that this guy got caught. I don't know if he ever been like got the death penalty. I gotta research that. But yeah, that's just sad, bro. You know, not just the father, but anybody gotta identify a relative and to know that they didn't die peacefully. They suffered. That's what makes it worse.
Most serial killers want to simply commit their crime and get away with it. They never contact the police. They don't want anybody to know about it. They're happy if it just disappears and is swept under the rug so they can go kill again someday. Usually to most serial killers, it's a personal thing. It's between them and the victim. That makes them feel like God when they're able to kill somebody. But there are some serial killers out there who want more than that. They like to play games. They like to see that they're smarter than the police. After he makes a phone call, he knows the police are rushing down there, and he can imagine them entering the apartment and finding what he's done, and that excites him.
Facts.
After the murder of Nancy Fox, BTK's seventh victim, police turned all their attention to the phone call and searched for witnesses to give them a detailed description of the killer.
We found one witness that claimed he saw the individual on the telephone making the phone call to the police dispatcher. This was an individual that pulled up to use the telephone, saw a man on the phone, didn't have any change, so he went into the store to get some change for the payphone, came back out to use the phone, and the individual was gone, and the phone receiver was dangling from the phone. And when he
I'm gonna be honest with you, that would have been the best time to catch him, because like they said, at that time, caller ID was something new. So he didn't even know that caller ID existed. But I'm pretty sure after this situation, everybody's going to learn about caller ID, you know, like it's bound to happen. He just didn't know at that time it was new. So that would have been an opportunity right there to catch him. Plus, they was 2 minutes away, bro.
Picked it up. My understanding was that it was still an open line to the police dispatcher. He gave us a description at that time, which was a white male, approximately 5'8" to 5'9", light hair, a very generic description.
Unable to release
not like he got a tattoo on his
sketch,
forehead, bro.
The police had nothing to go on. They would have to wait until the killer struck again. By the beginning of 1978, the BTK strangler had viciously murdered 4 members of the Otero family, including 2 children, 21-year-old Catherine Bright, 24-year-old Shirley Vian, and 25-year-old Nancy Fox. Despite devoting many officers and thousands of man-hours, the Wichita Police Department were struggling for leads and had still not made public that there was a serial killer.
So what the hell was the news reporting then? If the government wasn't saying anything about it, how are the newspapers reporting these murders? Isn't somebody going to put 2 and 2 together? Wait a minute. These crime scenes are identical to these other crime scenes. You feel me? Like, what the hell?
On the prowl.
How do you not tell people what's going on, bro?
In January of 1978, the BTK sent a postcard in an envelope to the Wichita Eagle newspaper. It had a poem called Shirley Locks and was signed BTK.
The poem?
The first line was Shirley Locks, wilt thou be mine? I think that was what it was. It came into the newspaper and was opened by someone who mistakenly assumed that it was for a Valentine's Day promotion. So they sent it to the wrong department, they put it on the wrong desk, whatever happened. It never made its way up to the newsroom.
Wow.
The poem consisted of 7 lines and made reference to Shirley Vian. There was also mention of Nancy Fox.
Yeah, this guy was sick,
later,
bro.
BTK sent another letter, this time to one of Wichita's main television networks, Cake TV.
Police are here.
I remember going back into the newsroom and several people around the desk, and I asked about where the letter was or where it had been found, and they indicated to me the letter. Of course, it was handled as evidence and protected for fingerprints and such as that.
Because the Wichita Eagle had not published his Shirley Locks poem, BTK opened his letter with a question.
In that letter, he said, how many more people do I have to kill before I get some publicity?
Whoa.
And it was at that point that we knew that he wanted publicity, that he enjoyed the publicity, that he really relied on that publicity.
Yo, bro, that is chilling, that is sickening, and that is wild, bro. How many people do I have to kill for you to give me some publicity? That's straight out of a movie, bro. And I'm pretty sure they made like a TV series or like there's something, a movie about him. But it hasn't been as big as like other movies and shit. But I ain't gonna lie. They made a movie now about this dude. And like I said, you know, you don't want to hurt the victims' families and shit. But just to show how truly evil this guy was, I think it should be known, you know? Like, that's the thing. That's the problem with these movies, though. It's like, once you make these movies, they become immortalized. They become idolized. And they got fans. And there's people that are fans of these dudes. That's the sickening thing about it. Like, you seen all the people that were fans of Jeffrey Dahmer. It's like, yo, bro, how can y'all idolize somebody like this? But you know what? People tend to idolize puppets, rappers, gangsters all the time. So it's not surprising.
Publicity in order to probably feed his ego.
The letter consisted of 2 typewritten pages, an accurate drawing of
the first line is, how many people do I have to kill?
Nancy Fox's body, and a poem entitled "O Death to Nancy." In the letter, BTK admitted to killing 4 members of Joseph Otero's family. Shirley Vian, Nancy Fox, and taunted the police to guess a further victim, presumably Catherine Bright. The BTK killer even admitted that he would have killed Shirley Vian's children, but was interrupted.
God bless those kids for getting out of there, bro.
After receiving this letter, Chief LeMunyon was forced to face the inevitable.
In that particular time, you're getting all these mixed signals, you know, yes, don't give him credit, yes, give him credit. Well, in my judgment, we didn't give him credit for Shirley Vian, and we ended up with Nancy Fox. I don't know, had we given him credit for Shirley Vian, that we'd still had Nancy Fox. I don't know that. So I was going to give him credit, which we did.
On the 10th of February, 1978, 4 years after BTK's first victims, Wichita was finally told the truth.
Good afternoon. This morning, Cake TV was contacted by the person who police say they believe murdered 4 members of the Joseph Otero family in January of 1974.
The communication came in the form of a 2-page typewritten letter addressed to KAKE Channel 10. It was signed with the initials BTK. But with us right now is Chief of Police Richard LeMunyon. I have a couple of questions, Chief. How can you be sure that the BTK letter is authentic?
The details in it.
The contents of the letter is absolutely no question that the only person who would have the type of information that was included in the letter would have to be the killer himself.
Do you know what the initials BTK stand for?
Yes, it's our feeling that the initials that were placed there stand for bind, torture, and kill.
BTK has killed 7 people, Chief. What kind of leads do you have?
That gotta be the worst right there. They put you right on the spot. Oh, okay. Well, you got killed 7 people. Well, do you have any leads? You know, and if you don't have any leads, you got the people like, yo, what the like, you guys is really, you know, you're telling us this shit now, and you don't have no leads about this dude. And another thing is like, do you want to tell the people if you got leads? Because then the serial killer might be aware, you know, like, oh, they on to me. So you don't want the serial killer to know that you're on to him. But I suppose they will say, yeah, we got leads to scare him too, to make him not want to continue doing what he's doing.
Very honestly, we have no solid leads at all.
What? Nah, bro. Nah, that was bad. That was bad, bro. Like, I understand it's like maybe him saying that is going to make people more scared and more on point. But then at the same time, you want the serial killer to feel like he's going to get caught. Yeah, we got a couple leads. We got a couple, you know what I'm saying, evidence. You don't want him to feel like, oh, yeah, I'm getting away with it. That's wild.
The press conference was actually aimed at 2 audiences. Number 1, the first audience was the community. And number 2 was to the strangler. And it was orchestrated for that purpose. The first idea of a police chief is public safety. I mean, we didn't want another murder. So if we could play with this guy in terms of the games that he played and let him communicate with us in writing as opposed to sending us bodies, that was my goal.
I get it.
But the public reaction was one of fear. This sleepy community had never imagined they would be prey to a serial killer. Wichita was plunged into a state of panic.
There was not an unlocked door in this community anymore.
No unlocked doors?
Prior to that, this had been a community in which you might leave your keys in the car, you might keep your door unlocked. But since BTK, and since there was a serial killer loose, not anymore. Everything changed.
The reaction of the people in Wichita was panic.
Now, if they would have done that a lot sooner, right, maybe some of these people would have been protected that got killed. Maybe that wouldn't have happened if they would have warned the community sooner. But also, he's breaking windows, so it's like you could lock your door, but he's cutting off the phone wires. There wasn't really cell phones back then. You know, if he breaks into your window, like how, you know, you're screwed pretty much.
Everybody was scared. Everybody looked at their neighbors.
With a side eye.
Locked their doors, locked their windows, checked their phone lines. It caused quite a stir.
The second shift duty sergeant would always send the officers out, reminding them the BTK strangler is out there. He hides in women's bedroom closets. He's armed with a knife and a gun. Be careful.
The department encouraged people to call the police if they got home and felt anything unusual, if they got home and the door didn't look right or a light was off that should have been on or vice versa. We encouraged people to call and have officers come out and do house checks.
They go through the whole building.
I wonder how many people were calling for the littlest things.
Would be fling open that woman's bedroom closet door with their guns drawn. There was never anybody there, but they didn't know that because they knew that this guy would break in and hide in women's closets.
Some serial killers like to be the boogeyman. They like to scare not only the person they're killing, but the entire community.
He became that.
Serial killers love a lot of publicity. They like having their stories in the newspaper. Many of these guys.
And imagine, like I told you in the beginning, this guy was actually, you know, he was somebody in the community. I believe he was teaching kids, the Boy Scouts. He was selling security alarm systems. So he's selling these security systems to people that are afraid of him. And he knows, like, oh, yeah, like he's seeing what his actions have caused in that community.
Guys will do odd things at the crime scene just to make it look even creepier so that people get more and more terrified and they start being afraid to walk on the streets at night, they're afraid to enter their apartments. That gives them a thrill of not only controlling one crime scene, but essentially controlling an entire city.
At the height of the panic, once again, BTK mysteriously disappeared. And it was to be another year before he was heard from again.
What, 79? Yeah.
The Anna Williams case is one of those cases that to me is one of the most terrifying for what didn't happen.
Annie Williams was a 63-year-old lady, widow lady, who lived alone. And her pattern was, on this particular night of the week, she had a regular thing. I can't remember if it was a dancing thing that she went to or bowling or something. And she normally came home when that was over. On that particular night, she chose to stay with her daughter.
When she got home early the next morning, discovered that there had been someone who had broken into her house.
Holy
and spent
shit.
apparently considerable time in her house. The telephone line had been cut. There was forced entry.
God was with this lady, bro. That's why you can't be too predictable with what y'all do, bro. When you too predictable and people know your movements, they know how to get you. That's why you gotta switch it up every now and then, you know? Take the long way home. Take the short way home. You never know, bro.
Through one of the windows. It was just a typical residence burglary as far as anybody knew until several months later when a letter was received that had some items in the envelope of hers, as well as a letter and a drawing.
I won't describe the drawing, but it was...
I bet she moved out after that.
That he
out of that
sent
state.
Was quite horrifying. Obviously, it goes along with his theme of bind, torture, and kill. And he sent the drawing, the poem.
Yo, this guy has some balls on him. He's sending them a letter for, yo, this could have been bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all still ain't catching me. Look, this could have been bad for this lady. She lucky.
And one of the woman's scarves, and that she was able to identify as her scarf.
BTK's poem posed a question. It also stated that Anna Williams would have been victim number 8.
To me, that's very terrifying. And for many women in Wichita, that was an incredibly terrifying moment because all of them could imagine that happening to them. And what would they do? It was very scary.
Anna's reaction was to the point that she was so upset that she left the state.
See, she left the whole
She
state.
was afraid, apparently, that he would come back or keep trying. So,
Bro, would you still live in there if you was her? Hell no. Hell no. She had a brush with this boogeyman, bro. She's like, yo, I am moving out. I'm not going to be in a small town anymore. I'm going to the big cities. Like, fuck that. I'd rather deal with criminals that's out here hustling, you know, getting money. I'd rather deal with them than fucking serial killer
she
shit,
did leave
bro.
the state.
I hope she took a daughter with her, too.
BTK's attempted murder of Anna Williams confused the police even more as they desperately searched for a link between the victims.
Where was the FBI
So you
when this
have
shit
a
was
victim pattern
happening?
here of the youngest, Otero, who was probably about 5 or 6, and the little girl who was probably 11 or 12. Then you have the parents. You have Kathy, who is a college age. You have Shirley, they're 20s, early 30s. You have Nancy Fox, and then you have a 63-year-old. Again, you're getting all this advice from these psychologists and these behavioral scientists, and it doesn't fit anything that they're telling us. So the only thing that was consistent about this person for over 30 years is
That's one thing, bro. When it comes to situations like that, you can't base it on, oh, well, these serial killers did this, so we assume that he's going to do this. You have to go by the evidence that's presented to you. You got to go by the stats that's presented to you. Okay, this is the profile. He's killed different ages. He's killed kids, men, women. So it's like, it doesn't fit one particular profile. So you got to just go by the clues and evidence that you got. Okay, he uses ropes. He has a gun. He's targeting this specific area, neighborhood. Like, you got to go by that. Can't just say, well, this serial killer back in 1800s or the early 1900s did this, so it's going to fit every profile. It don't work that way.
Consistencies.
Desperate for a break in the case, the police took the unprecedented step of releasing the Nancy Fox phone call to the public, which they had spent the past 2 years
Try to see if
trying
anybody
enhance.
recognized the voice, I bet.
Using state-of-the-art equipment at the time, experts managed to clear up some of the background noise in the aim that someone would recognize the voice of BTK.
Yes, you will find a homicide at 843 South Pershing. Nancy Fox.
That was the first time that anybody had heard his voice. And so that was really a momentous occasion. For the audience, it was really a moment. That's BTK's voice. That's the killer.
When I heard the phone call there, why it was a shock, I guess you might say, and a surprise that somebody, a killer would be that cold-hearted to call and notify and tell the police of his own, what had happened and everything in his own words.
I feel bad for this man because he looks like he's old, bro. He didn't get caught till what, 2004? This is the 80s. Like, I don't know if this guy was, survived to see that killer get locked up. So that's the sad thing, to pass away and you don't know if that guy ever got caught. So hopefully he has some peace. That's sad, but I hope, her family members know, but it's just sad, bro.
Despite releasing the voice, no one came forward, and once again, BTK mysteriously vanished. 3 years after the Anna Williams incident, police still had no clues to BTK's identity, and the FBI became fully involved.
About time. The hell y'all was doing?
In 1982, the federal government started funding a program through the FBI called VICAP, Violent Criminal Apprehension Project. And in 1984,
VCAP,
money was appropriated for the Wichita Police Department to work on catching this violent criminal who had not been apprehended, the BTK Strangler. So with the federal money and city money, they devoted eventually up to 8 officers to work on this case full-time from the summer of 1984 until the summer of 1986.
Ghostbusters was the BTK task force, and it was a group of individuals that I put together specifically to work on the BTK case. Their number one priority was to identify the individual, and short of that, to make sure that we had everything that we could do from an investigative standpoint done.
They used computers, profilers, DNA testing. As far as I've been able to determine, the first DNA testing done in the United States was in this investigation for the BTK Strangler.
Having first focused on the phone call, attention moved to the letters received from BTK.
He sent copies of his letters. He did not send originals that he had typed.
Holy shit.
Apparently the copy machines of that era printed an image a little bit bigger than what it saw, so that made it impossible to positively identify a typewriter should a suspect typewriter ever be located. With the help of Xerox Corporation in Rochester, New York, we were able to identify the brand and make of toner and the brand and even the length of the roll of the paper that one of the copies was made from. So we were able to pin it down to one particular copy machine on the campus at Wichita State University.
Holy shit.
Which unfortunately for us was a public access machine open to any student or employee or person who wandered in there. So at that time...
I mean, that's a lead though, bro. You got to take what you got right there. Unfortunately, nah, bro. Okay, he's copying his shit there. Now you just got to start looking, looking at cameras, interviewing people, just doing an investigation. Like, you can't just, bro, a good detective is going to use every freaking lead that they got. You can't just say, oh, it's not going to lead us nowhere. You never know.
It led to some speculation that perhaps he was a student. The second copy machine was traced using the same methods to the second floor of the Wichita Public Library, which was just within a few feet of where the original letter was found in an engineering book.
After 2 years of intensive investigation and thousands of man-hours,
they shut it down?
The Ghostbusters task force came up with nothing and shut down.
Just about a month after the investigation had concluded, there was one last murder investigation that the Ghostbusters met to discuss. It was the murder of Vicki Wegerly. And they unanimously concluded that BTK did not kill Vicki Wegerly. It would take about 18 years before they found that they were wrong.
Wow. So they overlooked another murder after they shut down the investigation? I wonder what happened that they said, oh, this couldn't be him. Did he not tie her? Like, did he do something different? Like, I don't know. Like, how can you come to that conclusion that he wasn't responsible at that time? I don't know, bro.
Utah's most notorious serial killer has not been heard from in over 25 years. But in 2004, all that changed.
So he kills 2 more people, right? I believe?
On
It was
March
10?
the 19th, a letter was sent to the Wichita Eagle newspaper. No one could ever imagine what the letter confirmed.
The letter contained a single sheet of paper. On that sheet of paper were 3 photographs and 1 driver's license. The photographs appeared to be a woman who, with her hands tied behind her back, who appeared to be dead, lying on the floor. The driver's license belonged to Vicki Wegerly. I immediately recognized that name. Vicki Wegerly was murdered in her home in 1986. The case has been unsolved for nearly 20 years. I suspected that what I had was a letter from the killer of Vicki Wegerly.
BTK. Who else would it be? Like, did y'all just forget about him? Like, what the hell?
The Vicki Wegerly case, the murderer came in the back door. It was on a very busy street. She was home. She was a mother. She had a child that was at school. Her husband was at work, and he had a little toddler who was like 2 years old on the floor. He came in. He got control of her. He bound her, tied her up, left semen at the scene, strangled her. Took the.
So how did they come to the conclusion that he wasn't responsible, bro? Like, he had the same MO. Like, are they bugging?
Car, drove it a short distance away, and left. The investigators on that particular case went to the scene, and at the time they got to the scene, the husband had already been there. The husband found her. He disrupted the scene. He cut her loose. He thought she was still alive. The ambulance was called for. Of course, she was dead, but the husband, was doing what he thought was right, and he did.
Okay.
By the time police got to Vicki Wegerly's house on West 13th, her heart had already stopped beating. She died within 15 minutes at Riverside Hospital. Her husband, Bill, supposedly found Vicki with a noose around her neck. Their 2-year-old son, Brandon, was playing in another bedroom at the...
Wow, he let that baby live. Thank God, you know, like, you come home from work and you gotta find something like that, bro. But wasn't there still semen? Like, we could have said the ropes. Like, the cops had all the evidence. He disrupted the crime scene, but how do they not know that that's the BTK killer, bro?
The murder.
As BTK had been silent for 7 years, Vicki Wegerly's husband became the #1 suspect.
Wow.
In a case like that, your first suspect is normally the husband.
That's
the
fucked
lead
up,
detective,
bro.
He believed that was the probability was that it could have been the husband, and he looked that direction.
That's messed up, bro. I
Given
would
that
sue
my
y'all.
brother was a suspect, I was asked by the attorneys to talk to the children. In a conversation when I was talking to Brandon, he said, "Mommy hurt man." And I asked him at that time, "Did Daddy hurt Mommy?"
He said no.
He said no.
No.
So I believe in self-defense that Vicki did
Fight
to
back.
hurt her killer.
She tried, bro.
After a thorough
I'm still upset that they was trying to blame the husband, bro.
Bill Wegerly was cleared, but for the last 18 years, a shadow has hung over the Wegerly family. Vicki's killer has remained a mystery.
Like, they looking at
Body
you,
was removed before
blaming you for that.
arrived, so there were never any crime scene photographs taken. The only item missing was the victim's driving license. This proved that the letter received in 2004 could have only come from Vicki Wegerly's killer. The false return address on the letter was from a Bill Thomas Kilman, initials BTK.
Wow, Bill Thomas Kilman.
Further examination revealed an authentic signature used in every communication sent by the BTK killer.
When I first heard the news that BTK had returned and claimed that he had killed Vicki, I was elated. And of course then I immensely felt guilty because that didn't seem to be the right emotion. But yet, in my heart, I knew that that meant my brother.
So you didn't believe your brother when this first came out? You still was looking at him like sideways? Like, that's fucked
It's
up.
vindicated that, hey, you know, this
I
just
need an
puts it on the
apology
front
from
page for the world to
everybody.
know.
Public apology too. From the police officers,
I
the
thought I'd been
mayor.
writing a history book and that I was coming near the end of writing a history book, but there was a whole new chapter to be written.
No serial killer has ever come back after a couple of decades of being silent and terrorized the community once again. That to me is the most shocking. What brought him back?
One possibility is that he wants to have attention again, and he's getting his kick sitting in his house playing this new little sick game of his.
So wait a minute. They're not gonna show how he got caught?
The only way you'll get a conviction is by having a DNA match. If they don't have a DNA match, this case may never be solved.
BTK could be our neighbor. One expert even said that you could be married to BTK and not know who he is.
They caught him.
Shortly yesterday afternoon, agents from the KBI, agents from the FBI, and members of the Wichita Police Department arrested Dennis Rader, 59 and a white male, in Park City, Kansas, for the murders.
The bottom line, BTK is arrested.
Yo, it's crazy because that shit happened so long ago and it feels like it just happened watching a documentary. I wish this would have delved more into like how they caught him. So I'm gonna have to do another reaction to see how they caught him the last year of he sent that letter and shit. I know there's some videos about his daughter talking about her father. That's interesting. Cause it's like, yo, bro, when you're married to a serial killer or that's your father, it's like, don't you notice things, inconsistencies, weird shit? So if you guys want me to, and I want to, I'll do a follow-up video to this to probably watch the daughter talking about it and basically how they caught him. That's what I want to know, how they caught him. This was crazy. This was a well-done documentary too, man. Well-done documentary, man. And you know, everybody's so enamored with Jeffrey Dahmer and they don't realize, oh, bro, there's dudes like this out here, bro. There's plenty of other dudes that were horrifying and worse. It's interesting, man. Anyway, I appreciate y'all for sticking through the whole video with me, whoever does. You the real MVP, man. Don't forget, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. It's your boy Dollars. I'm a holla. I'm out of here.
For my time goes by, they gon' raise a nigga jersey in the sky. Treat a nigga right, big dreaming on my life. Shorty wanna get some air, I go and get her when I fly. Taking off on these niggas I retire. The minute I catch fire, I smoked them all before, just revisiting the high.